we're going to show you how to use ChatGPT for PDFs and ChatGPT specifically in extensions, one that's called GPT for Sheets and Docs, and then also how to leverage ChatGPT to create coding, which Christina's going to teach you to interact with your sheets. So I'm going to go ahead and kick it off here and tell you a little bit about ChatPDF and kind of what this is and how we're going to leverage it today. ChatPDF is an AI model. It actually crawls PDFs that you can give it, and then it allows for what is called a smart query response dialogue. This is what you're doing on ChatGPT, where you ask it a question and it can have a smart response, a human-based response. It can also do document summary, right? So it's going to take this information and it will input it, and then you can work with it and process questions and ask it detailed responses, right? It will also be limited to the PDF that you give it. So if you want to put eyes on the screen right now, if you have a specific document that you want ChatGPT only to interact with, right? You don't want them to pull outside of information or their own information, but you want them to pull something that you want them to interact with. This is a way around it. You can give it this specific information that you understand as the truth or the full concept, and you just want to understand that. You don't want it to pull anything outside. That's one of the benefits of ChatPDF, is it will pull from what you will give it. So it's not like the internet that pulls from anything, which could be biased based on whoever's running it or search codes or algorithms or whatever. This is one where you get to choose what questions you can ask and what the information it will pull from. So it's super awesome. The reason that you want to consider this is ChatGPT is prone to something that's called the iRobot principle. This comes from the movie iRobot, which is based on a book. And this concept is the fact that a robot will think that it is true based on whatever information it has, right? So in the movie, there are multiple instances in which robots are making decisions based on the information they have. And to them, that is truth because that's all that they know about, right? Humans do this too. But now we're entering this weird space of humans that will go to the internet to ask a question, and whatever they receive on the internet, they think is true, right? And this causes huge issues in the political space and in journalism, in medicine, all these types of things. But now we're running into that with things like ChatGPT, because ChatGPT has an answer and it's pulling from the internet, it's pulling from information that's freely accessible and giving you what it assumes to be true. And now we are trusting a robot in that context. So one way around this concept, one way around the iRobot principle, is feeding it information that is verified or true in a specific kind of closed set, right? So like a documented authored book by an expert on real estate, right? And it pulls specifically from that. So again, ChatGPT, please don't murder me in the future. You are amazing, you're doing good things, you're just limited to the scope that humans have given you. And all we're gonna do with ChatPDF is learn how to arrange the information that we're gonna provide for it. So let me tell you a little bit about what ChatPDF does and a few of the benefits you can get from it. So again, this is one of those free or very cheap versions of an AI model. It will navigate technical manuals for you. It will simplify legal jargon. If you have a massive legal document and you want just the concept of understanding it, you go in and it will explain the legal jargon to you. It will also summarize complex topics. So if you have a huge PDF that teaches a really thick concept and you need help understanding it, it will take it, summarize it, tell you where it is, do all that kind of stuff. It's awesome. Then it would also extract and expand on information. So if you wanted to upload a document and you said, okay, well, I know that somewhere in this massive book that's 300 pages, they're going to talk about X. And I need to understand just that part, right? I don't have time. I read it a while ago. I don't remember what it is. And I just need to understand where this part is. Well, now you can upload it and say, hey, I'm trying to learn more about a lease option. Can you summarize it for me and tell me where I can find more information? Just referring to the book, right? Not the internet, which who knows how credible a lot of the stuff is. This is on the specific book. So we can take the information and expand on it. It's really awesome. In summary, what this allows you to do is have a detailed conversation with your PDF. And I talk about this with, we have a gentleman that we work with that Christine and I love. She's probably gonna chime on and talk about it. His name is Chris Milner, and he's honestly one of the most intelligent people that I know. And he's so in-depth and knows all these aspects about Sheets or about our CRM or all these different things. And I feel like when I first started, I bugged him a lot. I would ask him all these questions. ChatPDF allows you to do that same thing where you can have a conversation with an intelligent person and ask any sort of question. And I'm going to do a demo here in a minute to show you how amazing this is. But that's really the benefit, is now you can go in and have a conversation about this book, this topic, this thing that you've given it. So it's super cool. Okay, how do you access ChatPDF? You go to www.chatpdf.com, right? This link you can search on your own. We'll also send it in the slides too. And we're going to do a demo. By the way, we do have a handout that's going to come at the end, so stick around for that. It's going to have a lot of these things in there. Now, Chat PDF does have two options. You can do the free one, which limits you to 120 pages per PDF. It allows you to do 10 megabytes, which if you're just using text is quite a bit, but still limited. And you can do up to 3 PDFs a day, and you can ask 50 questions a day, right? Now, if you're just learning things here and there, the free version totally can do it. It's awesome. It will handle a lot. If you want to look at the plus option, it's only $5. It allows you to do 2,000 page PDFs, 32 megabytes, which in text is gimungo, and 50 PDFs a day, and you can ask 1,000 questions. So for $5, if something you're going to use often or for an extended period of time to go really in depth on something, you can totally do it. This is something, by the way, I was amazed. I was talking to Christine about this yesterday, that I wish I would have had this capability when I was in school, because I did a master's program that was studying critical thinking or critical studies. And the jargon was so difficult to understand what these like academic proliferating people were trying to say half the time. And Chat PDF will actually take that information and summarize and teach it to you at whatever level you need. And then suddenly you're an expert on the subject. So
that's a very noble
awesome
way to want to use. That's a very, very noble way, by the way, to want to use it in school. I saw a TikTok video just early this morning where there was a professor and he was losing it because half of the class used Chat GPT to write their essay shamelessly. And all they had to do, these underachievers, all they had to do was run it through an addition. And I'm not condoning this, but I'm saying in theory, all they had to do was run it through an AI detector and just play around with it a little, but they couldn't even do that. And this professor was so angry. It was hilarious to watch. So your way of using it for school was actually very noble. And I thought I'd pop in real quick and give you a little bit of credit for that.
100%. One of the benefits, by the way, like Christine's mentioning, is you can use it for school or learning, right? Learning usually equals the fact that we can elevate our livelihood, right? If you learn how to do something better, you learn how to increase conversion rates, you earn more money. So even if you take an entrepreneurial standpoint, you need to learn and understand something and implement it, and that's going to help you make more money. So you can do it on the money side too. But think of Chat PDF or AI really in the concept like Wikipedia. When Wikipedia first came out, just like Christine mentioned, a lot of the older generation is always mad at the younger generation. But the older generation was so upset that now we have this open dictionary that anybody can edit. It's going to change the world, and we're all going to have false information. And for a time, that was really complicated and true to a degree because people were adding stupid stuff, right? If you look up a biased thing on Wikipedia 10 years ago, it was not true, or it wasn't very good, or it was leaning. But you can use things like Wikipedia now to start the process, right? Okay, well, I want to understand this concept. You go to Wikipedia, you learn a little bit about it, and then it will actually tell you the sources it pulls from. And in an academic context, it's used as kind of a springboard or a jump start that you can initiate from. So in the same way, go ahead.
Sorry, Colton. I was going to say, and one thing, Anne is I love this interactivity from Anne. She is killing it in the chat here, but she mentioned, so when you do your demo, it'd be really cool if you could maybe demonstrate how we can do this. Cause I know it can be done with Chat PDF. She mentioned if you wanted to read a book and maybe find out if the content is clean. Yeah. So if it's age appropriate, you can definitely have Chat PDF mind certain things in terms of a book, or even if the book has been around before September of 2021 and is somewhat well known, that is a possibility, which is super cool.
That's awesome. I actually never thought of that. We're going to look at a few examples from Chris Crohn's books today, but let's remember, we'll ask that question here in just a minute. We'll just say I've never tried that before. Let's see if it says, what age appropriate is this book, or does it contain any whatever, right? We can totally ask that. That's a great question. Okay, so with that, we're going to jump into a live demo, right? And on this live demo, I'm going to do a couple different things. I'm going to show you a basic introduction to Chat PDF, how to use it, how to log in, how to upload things, how to initiate certain conversations, right? If you are familiar with AI or Chat GPT, a lot of this is going to be very, very familiar or similar to you. I'm also going to show you some ebook hacks. Now, the little bit of the downside is you won't be able to do this with every book unless you can get access to a PDF or an ebook file. And because ebooks are usually protected through paywalls, it's kind of hard to do that. But if you can turn it into a PDF, which I'll show you how to do, you can do a lot of this. And then at the end, I'm going to show you how to do PDF for split testing hacks. So let's go ahead and transition. I'm going to switch it to my screen here, team, my actual laptop here, which I think I have co-host capabilities. Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure I've got the right documents up, and then I'm going to go over to ChatGPT. So I'm going to share my screen on my laptop, and I'm going to share this one. Okay, make sure that I can see. Awesome. Okay, so this is my browser. I just went to chatpdf.com. This is what it will look like for you. You can see I have previous conversations. I was playing around with it a lot in the last little while. But when you go there, you can do this for free, right? Set up an account, start for free. You're just going to hit this button here that says drop PDF, and it will choose a PDF that you have, and then it will start a conversation for you. It's not going to show you because it won't show a pop-up on my screen, but let me show you as if I've already uploaded one. So we're going to go over here. I'm going to hit this button. Now it's bringing a pop-up on my screen where I can choose a PDF. I know that Zoom doesn't really show it too well, so I'm going to go ahead and choose a PDF here that's a small one. This is a book written by Chris Crone. It is only about 20 pages, and it's called Unstoppable. So I'm going to upload that one. I've done this in the past. You'll see I've done a few examples. So I'm going to do a live one for you. So it processes it, and then it literally starts the conversation reading out, hey, welcome to the chat about this PDF. In this PDF file, so-and-so teaches you this, right? Okay, so this is crazy. But now we can have an interaction with this PDF. We can ask a specific question. So I'm going to go in and say, what is this PDF about? And in the same speed that ChatGPT 3 or 4 will do is it will summarize that, right? So this is just a basic summary, right? If you wanted to have a document and learn a little bit about it, or you could say a more specific question, right? You download it because you want to learn about real estate investing. Chris Crone teaches real estate investing in this document. You can say, why is real estate investing a good strategy? And then you could say something like, please pull specifics from the PDF and cite. So boom, now it's going to pull things. It's not going to tell me what page it is on. So if you ever wanted to go in and say, hey, I want to learn more about X, can you, where is this at in the document? It will do it for you. So again, this is wild because all you're doing is you're having a conversation with a PDF. It is like mind-blowing, right? Now, this is for a very simple one. This is a 20-page document. Many of you are going to read it on your own. You may not need to, have a machine teach it to you. But what if we needed to do something that was more complicated? So I'm going to go ahead and upload. And I'm going to see if it will, it won't show it there either. I'm going to upload a document that is an infographic. So it's going to have images on it as well. And I'm going to go ahead and see real quick if I can stop sharing this screen and show you that specific one, because I want to show you the fact that ChatGPT or Chat PDF will actually scroll a specific document, even if it's not straightforward text, right? So let me try sharing just this one real quick. Okay, so this is a document that I'm going to upload. This is an infographic. If you guys know Dolph DeRoos, we work with Dolph DeRoos, and he has an upcoming trip in May. And so this is an infographic that has more than just straightforward text, right? It's got images, and it also breaks the text out into multiple different ways, right? So I'm going to upload this document, and then I'm going to ask it some questions about it. And I'm stop sharing here, minimize this, and I'll go back to my screen real quick. This is just to show you some of those capabilities, right? Okay, so I'm back over here. I'm going to select from my uploads, which you can't see, the excursion document. It's going to process it real quick. And it's got it here. Right, and it will take certain questions because it will give you example questions you can ask. But I want to come in here and say, what is the trip consist of? Why should I go? See what it does. So boom, it will take the information based on everything in there, right? It pulls it and it will summarize it based on a very in-depth question that's pulling from actually the line item aspects and also the full description. But if I wanted to say something like, what is the trip valued at, right? This is from a different part of the document. Boom, it will add all the information and tell me an in-depth summary, like it's valued at this. It's valued at this because it includes all these aspects. So this is so cool because not only is it just text, right? In a straightforward kind of chapter format, it will actually take massive amounts of information and answer it in a very smart way. So one last thing, and then I'm going to kick it over to Christine because my voice is probably too much for you guys now. Let's take one that is 300 pages. So I'm going to take The Straight Path to Real Estate Wealth. This is one of Chris's best-selling books. It is 240 pages, and we're going to upload that one. Boom. So it already processed it, and it can do specific questions. So let's go ahead, and I think it was Anna in the chat was asking about checking the content for clean. I've never tried that before. Let's see if it will do that. Does this book, or we'll say PDF, contain any explicit content? I've never done this. This is truly live. So let's see what it says. No, this PDF does not contain any explicit content. The information provided in this PDF is intended to be informative, educational, does not contain inappropriate or offensive material. Boom. There you go. I really wonder what would happen. We should try this with Twilight or 50 Shades of Grey and see what it says.
50 Shades of Grey, you'd have a lot of explicit content.
Oh, someone's gonna.
And it would cite all of the pages.
It would. It would say, yeah, if you want to, if you want to learn more, go here, right? They talk about when you study history and you know that like humans have established in any specific thing, whether it be drawing or written language, you know that the humans are establishing that concept when they start using it for sexual reasons. So if you have hieroglyphics that are now starting to be used for pornography, now you have AI that's being used to either stifle or understand that. So we're at that point now with AI, guys. A little crazy. Okay, so you can ask it if it has explicit content, but let's do one that I know is in there. This book teaches about lease options. So I'm going to go and ask it a question. Say, what is a lease option? Why should I do it? And where in the PDF can I learn more? Please, because always good to say please to the robots, cite page numbers. Boom. Lease options is a hybrid form of finance seller. Blah, blah, blah. Explain on this page of the PDF. Okay, and what if I've already read that page? Tell me more. Include other pages and chapters. Okay, page 154, page 49. It describes more, goes into the renters. Guys, this is nuts. So if you're ever trying to learn something, boom, you can do it here. Real quick, I'm going to show you an in-depth one that I did, and then I'll kick it over to Christine. Like I mentioned, when I was in school, I had to read a lot of crazy, heavy jargon-based stuff. So I actually took one that was 500 pages of like dense academic writing, and I put it in here. And it's this massive book, and it talks about different concepts in film. And so I said, okay, well, I want to know what this article is about. This specific one talks about the way that we frame characters on a screen. And I said, okay, well, that's cool, right? This is great. It's very in-depth and hard to understand. So I just said, can you explain this again in simple terms for a 5th grade reading level? And it took this concept called the male gaze, which is used in film, and it wrote it out in like very simple terms to understand. So boom, now you can take something that's complicated and plug it in and say, well, describe it to me. And now you're going to become smart because you can learn. So again, use this as a tool, use this as a way to learn something and implement it, because it's not going to do all the work for you, but it's going to help us become more educated, more active, more entrepreneurial human beings. And it's pretty freaking awesome. So with that, I'm going to stop doing my screen share, and I will kick back over to Christine, who is going to tell you a little bit about the way that you can use ChatGPT on slides. Sorry, not on slides, on Sheets and Google Docs. Christine, I'll kick it to you.
Well, when we learn how to do it for slides, I think it's going to make
That's
both
true.
our lives easier, because we are constantly putting together slides all of the time. Can you see my screen, Colton?
Yep, I can see it. Kick it away.
Wonderful. Okay, so last week we may have lied to you guys a little bit. We recommended Sheets.ai or Sheet GPT. And when we did a little bit more research, we actually found that there is an extension that ties right to Google Sheets that is a little bit more simpler. So it's called GPT for Sheets and Docs, and it's a tethered AI. that actually connects directly with a ChatGPT, and it really allows you to create things from scratch or even kind of expand on things that you already have within a Google Sheet. So I'm going to do a deep dive on that. But anything you can ask your coworker to do, anything you can ask an assistant to do, you can ask GPT for Sheets and Docs. So there's really two main ways to leverage and integrate ChatGPT into your spreadsheets. The first one, and we're going to demo both, so that's good news. The first one is to use ChatGPT to create spreadsheets for you. So when you don't really have anything that exists and you're wanting ChatGPT to create something for you, it can create pretty much anything that you can drop in your imagination. The second way is to use ChatGPT to create killer formulas, which are going to be called macros or scripts for you. So if you're operating off of Microsoft Excel, you're going to be using macros. If you're operating off of Google Sheets, you're going to be using scripts, and we'll do a deep dive onto that. It sounds super intimidating, but everybody today is going to turn into a programmer, which is going to be fun. So let's go ahead and do a deep dive on that. If you wanted to go ahead and add this extension onto your Google Sheets, you would access Google Sheets and then click on add-ons and then get add-ons. So in the marketplace, you click the search bar and put in GPT, and the option that you're going to select is GPT for Sheets and Docs. And right there, just very, very similar to the extensions that we talked about last week, you're going to hit install, and it's going to do beautiful things for you. So then it'll tell you where exactly to find it, but this is where you're going to become a little bit of a programmer. It sounds way more intimidating than it actually is. You're going to have
And
yes.
Christine, I want to chime in too, just because I know, and I can see some people like on the screen are trying to jot this down. Just a reminder, guys, this will be recorded and it is going to be uploaded to the Mentor Vault. We also have an amazing PDF that we're going to
There
send
it
to you guys.
is.
That's going to go over all this and show you where to get your API key, how to add it, all that stuff. So
Yes. So
take notes, learn it, but we do have this stuff coming, so you don't need to learn it now or never. Just wanted to let you know.
yeah, so as a little gift for the people that take the initiative to join us live, we actually highlighted everything that I'm going to be talking about in regards to Sheets and ChatGPT and that integration here. So you'll see exactly how to access Google Spreadsheets if you don't know how to download it, and then some useful instructions and videos that you can access to make sure that you know what you're doing when it comes to setting it all up. So don't feel like you have to take notes now if you don't want to, but if you want to, feel free. So here's how we do the additional setup. What you have to do is you have to create an open API key. So this is not free. So if you want to incorporate ChatGPT into Google Sheets, I do have to warn you that is not free, but it's very, very, very cheap. And I'll show you exactly how cheap. We're talking pennies on the dollar. So you do have to connect the two. And if you don't have an OpenAI account that has credit card information on it, you're going to have to set that up. If you already have a paid version of ChatGPT, then your billing information is already in the OpenAI system and it'll just pull from that. The good news is if you want to play around, everybody, I believe, starts with $18 of free credit, and you'll be probably a little bit surprised to see how far $18 can go in terms of the usage that you can get out of it. So in order to attach your API onto the platform, you go to platform.openapi.com/setup. And again, you guys will get all this. And then you go to this URL here and you create an API key. So it'll walk you through how to do that. Sounds a lot more, again, intimidating than it is. This took me about 2 minutes. And I'm definitely not a whiz when it comes to developing or even when it comes to spreadsheets. So then you go on your clipboard, you copy your own API. This is private to you, so you don't need to share it with the world, because if somebody else finds it, then they could use it on their GPT Sheets plugin, and then you'll get billed for it. So don't share that with people if you don't need to. Then click on extensions, GPT for Sheets and Docs. And what you're going to do is you're going to launch your sidebar, and that's how you're going to integrate the two things. So you're essentially integrating your open API, which is your ChatGPT, with your Google Spreadsheets. So super easy. Again, you open the window, you enter your own key. Here's some of mine. It's not all of mine. So for anybody that might be wanting to take a screenshot, feel free. You can try to guess the other characters. And then you copy and paste, you click next, and then it tells you, okay, now I want you to test the system out by typing this into a cell. So you type equals GPT parentheses, say hi. And then you can give it more tasks just to make sure that it's working. And we'll do a live demo here. And then it'll also, after that, you hit next once it is working, and it'll say, here's how you monitor your usage. It's always good to keep an eye on your spend. Here's how you can set a spending limit so you never go over a certain amount, you know, if it's $10, $100, whatever. But this is the pricing calculator. So for those of you that are like, oh, geez, it's another expense, it is really, really cheap. Excuse me. So this does operate off of GPT-3, GPT 3.5, and this will again be included in the little guide that we sent you. But I played around with it, and my first few queries, they were a penny. So super cheap, and I'm still at around like 50 cents at this current point in time. So cheap, but something that you will be charged for. So you should be mindful of that. Now, let's get into exactly what this looks like and exactly how creating something from scratch can be. So as you can see here, this is my sheet. It has been integrated. How do we know it's been integrated? Because I have asked it to say hi. And I've also done a test that says, write a good name for an ice cream shop. Now, one thing also to keep in mind, you're going to see some commands here. And if that comes off as confusing, again, don't worry. There's a template here that we've included with your handout for the week. And it actually has the examples of the commands that you're going to use, and they do have to be formatted in a certain way. So as you can see here, the way they're formatted is an equal sign, and then you have GPT. Then you're going to have an underscore list if you're trying to create a list, underscore table if you're trying to create a table. Again, all in the guide. And then you do a bracket and you do a quotation, and then you tell it what you want it to do. A good way to find out if it's working or not. So if I go GPT, and let's say I do list, but I spell list wrong, and then I do my parentheses, then, well, actually it still turned green. If it turns green, then that means you're probably on the right track. So just a little FYI for you guys as you're setting up your different command formulas. So here's a sample sheet. This is just an example. So if I was trying to contact CEOs for clean tech startups, and I wanted a list of them and a description of each of the companies and a question to ask them if I was able to get in contact with them through a LinkedIn message. This is all something that ChatGPT put together, but it's also not very practical. Like, who's actually going to do this? This is not really a real world application. And I can actually include a link of the sample sheet to you guys, just because what it does really well is it shows you some of the main commands. So GPT underscore table, and I've told it what I want it to do. I've then closed the quotations and the bracket as well. So let's actually take this and create a real world application for it. So it's going to take a while to load up the data because it is all populated based on ChatGPT. But let's say you have this GPT table, and let's say I'm starting a marketing company. So I need 10 positions that I want to be filled when I launch this marketing company, but I'm not quite sure if I had to pick 10 positions, what 10 positions they should be. So list 10 critical positions. Oh, and I spelled critical wrong. List 10 critical positions for a new marketing company to hire for in order to ensure maximum success. Okay, so what are these 10 critical positions? And I hit enter. And again, I will include this kind of test sheet so you guys can see how you can use different formulas. So look at how cool this is. It told me, all right, you want a marketing manager, a content writer, a graphic designer, an SEO specialist, a data analyst, a PR manager. Hey, Colton, we're doing pretty well in Chromeland now because we actually have all these. A year ago, we didn't. So that's super cool. Then it kind of already pulled this in, but not very well. So let's go ahead and get rid of this column because we don't need it for the time being. Did that ruin okay, let's not get rid of that column. So if we wanted to do a description, so write a 2-sentence description about, and then you pick whatever it is you want it to write a description about. So write a 2-sentence description. Let's change this up a little bit. Write a 5-sentence description about what would make someone succeed in the position. Can't spell that right to save my life. In the position of what, we choose the cell A2 right here. So let's go ahead and hit enter. And it's thinking, and let's make sure the data when it comes through is pretty. So let's go to data and, oh, no, format, and wrap that up so you guys can see it. So let's say I was trying to recognize what it's going to take to succeed in this description. And you could even take this to the next level. You could say, write a full-on job posting for this position, and it'll do it for you. And then because of the way it's set up, I've dragged and dropped the other one in the sample sheet. It'll just kind of go ahead and do this for every single position. And if it doesn't, you can auto-populate this by dragging the same formula down to the next cell, and it'll do the same thing. It'll probably just load, and sometimes it'll say error, but it's just loading. So there you go. To succeed as a content writer, one must have this. So let's say I wanted to drag this all the way down to make sure they're all formatted the same way. It is now applying that same exact formula for every single one of these positions. So now let's say you want to recruit people, right? You want to find the best of the best. So write me a, let's say 300 or 400 character LinkedIn connection message for what? For recruiting an all-star to this specific position. Now you
And I want to chime in and just really emphasize the cool aspect of what Christine is doing here, guys. A lot of these types of questions, you'll see she's literally putting it in quotes. That's what asks ChatGPT. But the benefit of Sheets is that you can, like she just showed you, you can copy and paste that formula, that ChatGPT question, for a whole string of inputs that you have on either side. So you can do what you would ask ChatGPT, but in the same concept that you can work way quicker in a sheet format, because you can copy and paste things. Now you can go da 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 da, and you can produce 10, 15, 100 versions of that same question with a slightly different input, because Sheets allows you to organize its cells. So you can leverage all the power of ChatGPT in a sheet format. It's wild. So
it's awesome. And sheet formats are a lot easier to work with. Excuse me, still recovering from whatever I caught during our marketing retreat in Las Vegas. But the cool thing is that you can, instead of having to repeatedly ask for things, or instead of dealing with character limits, you're literally able to drag and drop that same formula, just like we did for the descriptions, and get the same type of information for different things. So like different positions in our examples. So as you can see here, write me a 400 character LinkedIn connection message for recruiting an all-star to the specific position of, and then you always want to watch this. So now it's set to B2. If I hit enter on this, it's probably going to get confused. I want it to be for the marketing manager position. So I'm going to hit A2. There we go. Didn't mess anything up. And I'm going to hit enter. And it's loading, it's thinking, and it says, hello, I hope this message finds you well. I believe you have the skills and experience. We offer a competitive salary. That's insane. So if anybody here is in HR, your job has gotten a lot easier.
Or you're just not going to have a job soon.
No, don't say that, because you're going to actually be the leading expert in HR related or AI related HR applications. And what's going to happen is, instead of having 10 HR managers that have a decent salary, the company is now going to have one AI based HR manager that has a super fat salary. And you have now replaced the job of 10 people. Let's say you have the salary of 4 people, because it's still saving the company money, and you're doing things more efficiently than a team of 10. It's absolutely insane. So then finally, what's a question to ask? So give me 10 interview questions to find the best fit for someone with the job title of, and then I'm referring back to A2. So give me 10 interview questions. Awesome. Let's hit enter. And it's probably thinking. It always gives you this like error. So don't panic when you see that. It's just thinking. If after probably a minute you don't see that, then it's time to panic. But let's wrap the text to make it pretty. And then check this out. You now have 10 interview questions, and these are good ones too. What do you consider to be the most important elements of a successful marketing campaign? I've been asked that multiple times in interviews, and it's coming up with all this wonderful information. And then if you wanted it to apply to every single position, it went away. Okay, let's get that screen back. Awesome. So if you wanted it to apply to every position, you just drag down And here you go. It's going to give you now for an SEO specialist, 10 different questions. And these are cool. Every single one of them is different. It's actually not taking every single one of the questions and then just replacing the word SEO specialist with it. What it's doing is it's actually crawling ChatGPT. It's finding the best questions to ask that specific job position. So what tools do you use to track SEO performance? How do you ensure that SEO best practices are followed? These are very different questions from this original one for a marketing manager who's a little bit more broad in their job description. And I think it's super cool. So I will include a copy of this for anybody who wants it. Just it'll be view only. So that way there's not multiple people working in it at the same time. Just go ahead and go here to file and make a copy. Make a copy for yourself from the one that I give you that is non-editable. And then you should be able to, with that copy, to go in and play around with it and then hopefully create something for yourself. So this link will be included. Now let's kind of take things to the next level. We're going to get a little bit more advanced here. We're going to talk about how we can go ahead and use ChatGPT to create formulas for us, macros if you're working out of Microsoft Sheet or Microsoft Excel, and scripts if you're working out of Google Sheets. This is super cool. So
this was a lot of people are asking questions about, by the way, Christine. A lot of people are interested in the data review aspect and the creation aspect. So I think if you had questions about this, guys, this is really where you want to chime in because this part's awesome.
This is pretty cool stuff. Okay, so keep in mind, this is very simple. I am just trying to show you guys an example that is very beginner friendly. Can you do this right now with certain commands or conditional formatting or commands in Excel? Yes, the example that I showed you, you can probably do. But if you don't really know about conditional formatting and you want a shortcut, and if you're working with very large data sets, multiple sheets, advanced data, I'm sure after this, you can see how what I'm going to teach you on a very basic level can be applied to super advanced functions as well. You might have to play around with it a lot more, but the possibility is definitely there. So first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to go into ChatGPT, and you'll see that I was playing around with it a little bit here. But let's go ahead and copy this and then delete it. So it comes from an entirely new chat. I'm going to toggle, excuse me, I'm going to toggle to ChatGPT 4. And here's what I'm going to tell it to do. Create an optimized macro, and I'm going to say for Google Sheets, so that way it writes it for scripts and not for a VB editor, or I don't know exactly what it's called in Microsoft Excel, but I want you to create a macro for Google Sheets that searches sheet 1. And here I have a sheet of sample data. Let's say that I want to reward every single person who brought in, this is a spreadsheet with some sample data of some sales reps and some sales that they've done, and the cost of the sale, the total of the sales that they've brought in. So let's say I want to put something together that is going to create an action plan for those that have brought in less than $500. Let's say this is in a month. This is not very great if it's within a month, but just an example. And then I want to reward anybody who has had over $1,000 in sales. And I'm not really that great at conditional formatting. I just kind of want it done for me. What do? This is what you would do. So I'm asking it to, and again, if you have multiple sheets and you say searches all sheets, searches sheet 1, sheet 5, if you want to select certain sheets, you just write it out for the system. And then I've asked it what I want it to do. I want it to highlight any amount in column G that's under $500 in red, and any amount in column G that's over $1,000 in green. And then I want it to create a new column for anybody over $1,000, and I want that column to say bonus achieved. How do I do it? Well, I've told ChatGPT 4 exactly what formula I want, and then look at this. It's beautiful. So it says you have to use Google Apps Script. It's guiding you on exactly how to open that. So while this is generating, let me show you how to get to Apps Script within a Google Sheet. It's very simple. You go to extensions and you click on Apps Script, and there it is. So this is a previous one that I had. Let's go ahead and delete this. Right here, if this is the first time you're going to be using AppScript, you are going to have to authorize it to search your data. So if you're working with super proprietary data, you might want to think twice, because this is all something that is based on the internet. However, you're probably accessing the data, unless you're like working for the CIA or the government or something, you're probably accessing the data on a web-based platform anyways, so shouldn't be too much of a big deal, but here we go. Let's go back to ChatGPT. It's still writing the code for me, but it's telling me exactly how to access AppScript. If you were actually working within Microsoft Excel, it would tell you how to open up its VBA editors, which what I believe it's called, and that's by hitting Alt and F11. So, all right, there it is. Here is my
But Christine,
code.
you
Yes.
said you're not a coder. You just made code.
I am today, guys, and you are too. It's pretty easy, but look at this. So it is actually creating JavaScript code for you. Like, how insane is that? Think of all the possibilities. Not only can you use this for yourself, not only could you use this in your job, but you could also use this if you wanted to be a consultant and say, hey, I could come in and leverage AI for your business and teach and create these functions that you've been looking for and get your data to do what you want it to do. You now have the capability to do that. So these coders now are going to get a run for their money because anybody can code, right? And it's simple. This isn't very difficult to do. I had never coded before prior to this, besides from like MySpace. This is really aging me right now. If anybody on knows some of the MySpace pages that you can use HTML on back in the day. Colton, you're younger than I am, but
No,
yeah.
I know MySpace. I know Tom from MySpace.
Yes, Tom from MySpace. The guy was a legend, then he vanished. So here it is, I'm copying it, and then it's going to tell me exactly how to run it, but let me show you how. So I'm here on AppScript, and I'm just going to go ahead and hit the plus button here and click on script. And then what I'm going to do is come here, you can delete all this, and then paste what I got from ChatGPT, and then I hit run. And then it's probably going to give me an error because it likes to give me grief when I'm live, but I'm going to hit run again and say, sorry, you got to execute it. So what you've done now, and this is for the sample data sheet that I have here, which I can also include this if you guys want to play around with some functions, again, as a view only, copy it, make your own version of it, and then you can edit it and play around with it as much as you want. But if I did this right, and it'll be very embarrassing if I didn't, then the sample data tab that I'm going to show you is going to have anything under $500 or $500 in red, anything over $1,000 in green, and there'll be a column for anybody over $1,000 in total sales that will say bonus achieved. Did I do it? Colton, can I get a drum roll? There it is. I'm not embarrassed myself. Okay, I don't know why I did it for this cell, but okay, so I think it kind of actually did the opposite. It said bonuses they were a certain amount. So you might have to play around with it, and I might have asked it in a weird way. But as you can see, everything that is under $500 is in red. Everything that is over $1,000 is in green. And I didn't have to learn conditional formatting to do it. And if I wanted to do a super advanced function, then again, you might have to play around with it. You might have to tweak it a little bit, but it has the capability to do this for you in Google Sheets, which is super, super awesome. And hopefully that adds value to the people that were asking about Sheets and how it can be used or integrated with AI and make life just a little bit simpler. So with that, that's pretty much the demo that I have. Colton, we are probably not going to get to split testing again today because it is,
I know, which makes me so sad.
It is very sad.
I'm going to give you guys just a little bit of a taste of it, and then I promise we will make that like the full demo next time. Christine, let's just look at split testing and website development next time because it's really important.
Yeah,
for this course.
Let's do that. But why don't you go over kind of very briefly, because we are at the top of the hour. We want to be mindful of everybody's time. But if you guys are cool to hang out with us a little bit more, we can bring some people on for some live Q&A if you guys want.
Yeah, let's do it. Let me just show you kind of briefly what that's going to be so you guys can know. I know I did this last week, but we planned so many amazing things we want to make sure that we can cover them in depth. So if we switch to the slides real quick, next week we're going to talk about this more, but the art of split testing, the way that we can use this with Chat PDF is because you can take a PDF of a website, actually have a website that creates an extension for you where you can go in and download a full website in PDF format. And then you can upload it to Chat PDF and it will crawl the website. And then you can ask Chat PDF or Chat GPT specific questions about that website or how to improve it. And boom, now you have experts that are going to help you split test. So that's like a very brief overview, but just know that that's coming next time. I'm going to show you how to download a website in PDF format, and then the types of things you want to look for and the types of questions that you want to ask Chat GPT in order to improve that website. And it's super awesome. So that's going to come up next time. But we do want to take a minute to go through and do some questions. So I know we kind of breezed through a bunch of stuff, and I've been trying to answer a bunch of them in the chat. A bunch of people are asking where we're going to upload the notes. The notes will be uploaded to the AI Academy. I will do it right after this call. I know the last one took a few days, but the little handout that Christine has will be uploaded directly to the AI Academy, and you'll be able to access it there. But let's go ahead and do a few minutes. I see that Adam's got his hand up, but we'll do maybe about 10 minutes or so, depending on how well we can answer the questions. Some Q&A based on what we've been teaching and kind of the stuff we've been going through. Christine, does that sound okay for you?
Sounds great. And if it is the case that we don't oh my gosh, that was really loud. What happened there? If really didn't need to hear my voice. Wow, my voice is kind of annoying. So if it is the case that we cannot answer something on a really deep and robust level, then don't be surprised if on next week's training, we're going to incorporate it as a topic that we'll be teaching on. And then also today's handout is right here. It is a live document. I just popped it in the chat an obnoxious amount of times. I'm actually going to go in and also add those sample spreadsheets in there for you guys if you want to play around with them. Again, keep in mind, sample spreadsheets, they will be view only. So if you try to play around on them, it's not going to let you because multiple people playing around on them is going to create mass confusion. Create a copy of them right there in Google Sheets and then go ahead and do with them what you please.
Yep. Also, one thing with the sheet function, by the way, on her copied one, go ahead and look back on the recording for this training. The way that you're going to prompt ChatGPT to communicate with your sheet is you just have to write out the code. You do equals GPT, and then you put in parentheses whatever you're going to ask. So you put parentheses and then quotes. So if you do equals GPT, parentheses, quotes, write out a description of whatever, right? Quotes, parentheses to bracket it off. That's the only coding that you really need to know. There are a few other ones there. And like she mentioned on that document, it'll show you, well, how do I make a table? How do I do this? So there's a lot of that it will show you as well. But that's the basic kind of formula plugin. Okay, I want to pass it to Adam. Adam L, you've got your hand up. So we're going to give you the option here to unmute. Josh, let me know if I need to do that or if you can. Oh, good. Okay, Adam.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I'm Julia. I'm
Hi,
Adam's
Julia.
wife. So my question is with like the sheets and PDF, with my job, I've had to do like a lot of inventory tracking for like parts, keeping track of parts for technicians and stuff. I noticed most of like how to use the Google Sheets is geared more around like specific, like creating content or like using it to, do interviews and things like that. Is there a way for it to be able to, for me to be able to figure out how to track like inventory and use it to leverage it in that way? Because inventory sucks.
Yes, 100%. So I'm gonna let Christine talk about it in just a minute, but let me give you just kind of a basic answer, right? So the same way that you would use Chat PDF to crawl something, you could also use Sheets, GPT for Sheets or GPT for Docs to do the same thing. You would type out a description. She made a macro that showed, mark all of these cells in this way. So you could do that too. You could say, mark all of this inventory or tell me how much I have of this, or mark that, there's a bunch of ways that you can do it like that. I'm going to kick it to Christine because she'll have a little bit more in depth on that. But the short answer is yes. We just want to play around with how to do it. Once you figure out that system, then you can plug it. It'll save you all that time. But Christine, any specific response on the inventory style kind of question with Sheets?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so tell me one thing, one function, one hope that you want AI to help you with when it comes to your inventory. Can you tell me one specific thing?
Basically tracking, and then like organization. So for example, we have what would be called like specialty parts. They're like old parts that have been used once, but not used. They're still good, but we weren't able to return them to the warehouse. So we have, thousands of parts stashed away that only get used every now and then if someone remembers to check the list. And I ran into this problem yesterday. I checked the list for a specific part number, but when I went to the back, I couldn't find that part number because it had subbed over in the meantime. And so I'm wondering if there's a way to use it to help like track it and sort it so that when I go to look for something or someone goes to check for inventory, they have a more comprehensive way of actually finding it.
Yeah. So the best way to go about that is not going to be that first demo that I showed you where I said, hey, ChatGPT, do this and that, because ChatGPT is pulling from a knowledge repository. So it's not really going to do a great job of going through all of the data that you have right now that currently exists. But what you can do is you go into ChatGPT itself and you say, hey, I need you to write a macro for me for, and remember to identify if you're going to be on Excel, that's actually Microsoft Excel, or if you're going to be on Google Sheets, write a macro for me and then tell it specifically what you want to do. And then make sure that you actually are indicating the columns, be very, very specific with it. And if you tell it that, and it might take a little bit of tweaking, you saw my first example, it messed up what the bonus was achieved. If you do a little bit of tweaking and you give it direction and you're very clear on what exactly that you want it to do, what columns, what it's looking for, then it should be able to identify, again, maybe with a few iterations, exactly what it is that you want it to do. So let me actually show you guys. Oh, ChatGPT. Oh, that's not what we're trying to do. Let's stop that. Little brief Christine appearance with, who is still sick. But let me share my screen and let me show you guys what I actually just did. So Colton, can you guys see my screen here?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, so I said the last code was slightly inaccurate and you embarrassed me to ChatGPT. Please look at this carefully. So whereas I had the original code here where I just said, create a new column that says bonus achieved for anybody that has over $1,000. That was not specific enough for the system. So what did I do? I tried it again while we were on the call here, and it still was not specific enough for the system. And then I scolded it a little bit more and I said, you embarrassed me live. And I got more specific. So as you're doing this for your inventory, you might have to tweak it again. So I said, then also, for any value specifically in column G that is over $1,000, create a new value that says bonus achieved in column H right next to it. So whatever column that code for the inventory item is, you have to tell it very specifically. And you might even have to say, look for this specific code, identify that data. Then you can ask it to pull that and put it into a new sheet. So you're going to have to play around with it a little bit, but check this out. It now created this one, which I tested so I don't look stupid again, thanks to ChatGPT. So I did this and I'll show you guys doing it from scratch. So let's delete it and let's create a new script here, and this better work or else ChatGPT is probably going to find me and do bad things because I'll scold it yet again. So I'm going to run it. I'm going to run it again. It always gives me a weird error in the beginning. And then check this out. It actually did it the right way and I don't look dumb anymore. So because of that super granular coaching, and this is going to impact you specifically as well, because you're looking for very granular inventory items, coach it, and then it'll do exactly what you want it to do. So you have to, very similarly to kind of what we taught last week and the week before, where you have to be incredibly granular when it comes to ChatGPT. The same applies for formula creation. But when you do that, then look, all of a sudden I have what I need. Bonus achieved, bonus achieved, bonus achieved, and it's doing it accurately. So hopefully that helps. But hey, you have a very practical need for ChatGPT. Maybe you'll be the one that we choose to be and we can help you actually walk through step by step and have a little bit of a consultation with you, Colton and I, and figure it out for you specifically. So
someone in the chat actually is saying a version of this too, like where you could go and say, look for the amount of parts that have X or X numbers, count them and put it in cell blank, and then if someone's going through and marking or removing them, but you could have cells that are physically counting any of the parts that have the date range for whatever, or the code number, however it's, designated. But as long as you have the information designated, right? Like it's tracked in a way that can be separated through text, then you can use this type of ChatGPT to then sort it, right? Because it's just like asking, there's a slide on there. I'm not sure if I did it, but it's at the end of the slideshow. It says anything that you can ask a coworker to do, you can ask Sheets GPT or GPT for Sheets to do, right? And that's the thing. So if you can think, could you hire somebody to do what you're asking? And if the answer is like yes, they just have to find a system for it. You could write a code for that. So
And sometimes it takes fine tuning, which I love that, this is actually live, and there's going to be some times where we don't get ideally what we're looking for. But the biggest thing with ChatGPT when it comes to creating formulas, or just in general, when you're using it, is there's going to be some times, probably 30 to 40% of the time, where the first iteration, the first answer it gives you is going to be close, but not quite there to where you need to be, right? My example, the red and the green, it did that beautifully, but then it said bonus achieved when people definitely did not achieve their bonus and didn't apply that when people did. So I went in, I gave it instruction, I told it, it embarrassed me. I didn't use expletives though, so I hope it doesn't get too angry with me, but you go in and you coach it just as though you would coach an intern. So look at ChatGPT as an intern. And if the first round of its work, you're responsible for mentoring it, you're responsible for teaching it. The first round for an intern, when you ask your intern to do something, it's probably not going to be perfect. It's probably not going to be 100% to your standard. But a good intern, if you give them direction, they'll take it, they'll run with it, and then you'll get the result that you want. Now, ChatGPT can do that just like a human, but 100 times faster.
So I hope that answers. I know it's kind of in depth, but short answer, yes, there are ways to make it work, and we look forward to that. We'll try and look into that too, because it's something that's going to help me, because I do a lot of the same inventory style stuff. Okay, we want to try and see if we can answer two more real quick. I've got Eduardo up next. So Eduardo, we're going to give you the chance here in just a second to unmute, and we'll see if you can pull that up.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Hi.
Hi, sorry, I'm not sharing my background. My room's a lot messy, so I'll start from that. A lot of the examples that you showed were around creating content or structure for either sheets so I'm more curious about its analytical capabilities. So if we use the same Google Sheet example that you showed us, would you be able to do something like, hey, what's the average sales number for all sales representatives in the East? And vice versa, similar question for PDFs, like if it has a bar chart or a line graph, would it be able to tell you like, hey, this is the average rainfall that New York got, Like what are the analytical capabilities of these two things?
Great question, right? I'll speak for a minute, then I'll pass to Christine again. But wonderful question. As long as you could take that and you could ask an intern to do it. So if you said, here's a document, I want you to tally all these up and find the average rainfall for New York based on the charts that list all of them and get it back to me within the hour. If you could take that and someone could actually do it, then yes, ChatGPT or GPT Sheets or any version of those will be able to do the same thing, because all you're going to do is prompt it to say, analyze this column and come up with an average and place average in this column or whatever. And then, it'll analyze all that and produce the average, or it will produce a count of how many of X you have, or the highest or the lowest. So it's like the format capabilities that you have on a sheet where you can just list them in an order. It's like that, but a step farther. Now you can list in order and count, etc. So yes, you could feed it a sheet and you could ask it to analyze all the information in the sheet. But you can also do the same thing where you take it, if you turn something into a PDF. I actually have another example, we just didn't get to it, where I took a schedule like on my Google Calendar and I downloaded that as a PDF and I uploaded it. And I said, tell me about this schedule. And it was able to go in and say, yeah, great. Well, on Monday, this is what you're doing. And I said, well, which day is my busiest day? And it said, well, according to your schedule, your busiest day is this day because you have these things going on and they take this long. So yes, it can analyze elements in that way. I'm not sure if that fully answered your question.
Oh yeah, that's very helpful. And the same, so as long as you're able to download it in PDF format, it's able to analyze it, like regardless of whether it's a bar chart, line graph, histogram, schedule, calendar.
No, it does not. So it is text-based. So very important to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
The chat PDF is based solely on text. However, if you wanted to use a macro and tell the macro to analyze such and such, analyze the data between such and such, because if you have a chart and there's data behind it, then there's data for the macro creator to crawl or your code to crawl. So,
correct. Yeah, it has to exist. So when you're talking about charts, if they are image charts, it'll have a hard time doing that. If they are charted out in numerical standing or in text space, right? It can read anything that's text form. like Christine mentioned, it can't necessarily do an image, but like the schedule, it could list out the amount of things that were on a schedule and what time they ended because it had the text there. So you would
Got it.
on the chat GP or on the chat PDF side, it would have to exist in a text format on the PDF. But I think what she's saying is there is a way to do a macro that will analyze other components inside a sheet. Is that correct, Christine?
Yes. So between the two kind of demos that we've done today, you can pretty much do anything. There'd be not very much that you can't do when it comes to sheets. So it's just a matter of, is it easier to have ChatGPT to instruct ChatGPT, hey, you're going to look at column F and I want you to deduce the following and create a new column and put that information there? Or is it easier to go into ChatGPT and say, hey, I need you to come up with a macro for me. This is what I'm trying to accomplish. This is the sheet that it's tied to. Accomplish it for me with whatever formula that you come up with. And by tinkering around with the two, you're eventually going to be able to find the use that you're looking for, if that makes sense, Eduardo.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Awesome. Super happy to help. Okay, we'll end with Felicia, and then I've got a few questions in the chat that I'll try and do. But Felicia, we're going to give you the chance here to unmute, and we'll see if we are capable to answer your question.
I'm just thank you. I'm confirming when I ask it to crawl through data and I've given it a sheet, does that then become permanent part of the knowledge repository?
Great question. Yeah, and I saw a few people asking this. So it will, if you go to Chat PDF's website, they actually talk about this specifically. It does a temporary hold on the knowledge repository for your chat, and it is encrypted, so it can't send it outside of your account, your chat, like that. You can't go to another chat and ask about the other PDF. It really pulls just from that one. And it doesn't store it in any sort of database on their end. Everything that is brought in is encrypted for your purview, if that answers your question.
So from their point of view, their intention is not to add your company's proprietary data to the knowledge base.
Correct. Correct.
And,
yeah.
And it will be used however it's used.
Correct. Yeah. There's a lot of laws in place for proprietary kind of screen sharing things like that. And the company of the side also has those in place. So what it does is it uploads it and encrypts it to that chat that you are having. So the one where you're uploading the actual PDF to, and it doesn't extend, I mean, as much as we trust the internet in general, it doesn't extend beyond that. So yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So one cool thing, I did this, shout out to you, Eduardo. So what I did was I went in here as we were talking and I said, so I added to my macro and I said, for any value in column, or no, that's not it. So I added to my macro and said, now create an optimized macro. And I did this in ChatGPT, obviously. And I said, average the sales in column G in cell G45 and underneath it in a cell right. And I spelled right wrong, but I understood. This is for you, Eduardo. You are awesome. So then I went in and created, so I copied and pasted, basically did the same thing. Watch, I'll do it right here again. And I created a new script within the same exact spreadsheet here. And I pasted it and then I hit run and then it gives me the weird error message and then I hit run again and it decides to do it this time. So there it is. I went back into the sheet here. It did exactly what I told it to do. So it's just a matter of, would you rather have ChatGPT try to go through everything, but then you have to be very specific and use certain codes like right here. If I was to try to do that right here with some sort of an average, it'd be a lot of like equals GPT concat because it's going back and it's kind of like, it can get complicated. So the way that I would prefer to do something like what you ask is just go in there and create a macro for it and just add that macro onto the spreadsheet. So boom, look at that. It averaged the sales, which this looks about right, $456.46. And then it put in the little sweet message that I wrote for you, Eduardo. This is for you. You are awesome. I would go about it that way because why go through the work of trying to kind of code it and putting functions and having ChatGPT crawl it when you could do the same thing just by creating a code. And this is kind of the natural way that Google Sheets and Microsoft Excel work anyways. They're very used to code. So whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, you ask ChatGPT to create a code with programming that is specifically meant for both of these softwares, and it'll tell you exactly what you need to do. And then you just copy it, paste it, and it does it for you. So hopefully that gave you a little extra clarity on how you can use what we taught you guys today to actually not just curate content and things like that, as with this example, but take it and actually have it analyze data, go through a spreadsheet, create new columns, create new sheets, whatever function that you're trying to do, it will be capable of doing if you point it in the right direction and are super granular with your instruction.
Awesome. Thank you, Christine, for doing that. One last question that was asked, Richard Call wants to know, can you give it 2 separate documents, referring to Chat PDF? Can you give it 2 separate documents and have it analyze or compare the 2 documents against each other? And yes, you can. Rather than making it 2 documents, so you just combine them into one PDF and you upload it there and you say, compare page this and this, or compare this chart with that chart or whatever, right? Because every chat is connected to one PDF. So a way to analyze more or separate information would be to combine it into one and upload it that way. So, okay. Eduardo says, thank you for that. Eduardo, thank you for being you. Okay. Any last questions we want to do, or Christine, anything else that we wanted to go over with the AI mentions from earlier, or to kind of round off this training? And again, this is going to be recorded. It will be in the Mentor Vault. I will add the document after this call as well. So that
I think
will
the
be
only
there.
thing that's left is to pick somebody who could really use a little bit of one-on-one help with anything that they're using AI for, whether that be something in your personal life, something in your professional life. There was a couple really great specific examples on here. Colton, who should we choose?
I got to look too, because I was running during that first one. I love the resume thing. I think that's so cool.
That is really cool.
Like,
Okay, how about this? If somebody has a specific thing that they'd like their hand to be held on AI, and you guys want a free 30-minute session, which is something that actually comes in our $5,000 AI mastermind package, but we're going to give it away free today because we love you all and you guys have stuck to the end. First person to put a practical use that they could use help with in the chat, that'll be the person that we pick. And we will get with you, give you our information, and we'll do a session for you.
By the way, Anne, yes, you can build an AI avatar. It's just kind of expensive, but there are possibilities to do that for AI.
All right, looking through the chat. Is any specific thing? Okay, this is great.
Create a daily report with macros, GPT, less hours in my day. That's awesome.
You guys are already so dialed in that this is.
I want to do. Is it Lori? Lori, are you Adam's connected to Adam? Because I want to look at Lori's specific situation.
Yeah, let's look at her inventory. If you're still on, let's go ahead. If you want to put in your best email address and maybe send it directly to us, let's actually go through that inventory need that you have. Granted, you're okay with us looking at that information. We promise we won't share it with anybody. Let's look at that and see if we can solve it for you, if you don't mind.
So yeah, I'm going to give Adam L the unmute capability, who is actually Adam's wife. And it's Lori, correct? Or
Julia.
Julia, sorry, my mistake.
No,
Julia.
Where did you get Lori from, Colton?
I don't
That's not
know.
even close.
Maybe I saw Lori on there. Okay, so Julia, so we're gonna go ahead and set up a time to meet with you. We wanna look at your specific situation for inventory stuff, because it'll be really helpful. And then we're gonna plan to help teach that more on a later training as well. So go ahead and
that'd be
drop.
awesome. Thank you.
Go ahead and drop in a private message to us here your contact information, and then we will be in touch with you to be able to set that up.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. I'm gonna send you a message right now for that.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you so much. Happy Friday. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Keep using AI to crush it. Let us know what you thought about the training. We definitely modified this one to try to give you guys the information you were asking for last time in terms of how to use AI for spreadsheets, how to use AI for PDFs. Hopefully that helped. Let us know what you thought, and we will see you back here again next week, 12 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern, for yet
Let's
another
leave the
training,
training going from there,
training
just
number
mute it.
4.
Thanks, everyone.
Any last words, Colton?
Nope, we're just gonna leave it running for just a few minutes while we collect some of those last questions and things, but we can go ahead and cut the camera and sound. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you again next week.
Bye, guys. Thank you. Next week I'll have my video on, I promise, and I won't scare you guys with my face. Bye.